The Democratic Alliance has called for the police to investigate VBS executives and Vele investments for alleged corruption to be expanded to include the Public Investment Corporation. This follows charges laid by the DA on Friday. DA Shadow Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mileham, spoke to CNBC Africa for more.
So on Friday, we laid criminal charges against the executives and directors of VBS Mutual Bank and Vele Investments, its major shareholder. The charges relate to corruption, racketeering, and fraud, and arise from the reports both in the media and in the affidavits of the curator, Mr. Rupiel, as well as the registrar of banks, Mr. Naidu, who have indicated that these executives used money from the bank to finance their own lavish lifestyles. So they were buying helicopters and cars and houses in Clifton and the likes. And we believe that what they did was illegal. It was a misuse of public funds in that it was municipal funds and it was PIC funds that were utilized for this. And so we have charged them with corruption, fraud, and racketeering.
On what grounds are you asking the police to include the PIC executives mentioned in this?
Well, the two PIC executives were non-executive directors of VBS, and they essentially received money amounting to approximately 5 million rand by recent reports to look the other way, to ignore what was being done, this looting of the bank and its finances.
Now, Kevin, tell us, now that you've applied or you have asked rather and laid charges against these particular executives and asked for the expansion to include the PIC executives, what happens now from here?
Well, there's an investigation that is underway. First of all, there's the police investigation, which we've now triggered by laying these criminal charges. Once the police conclude that investigation, and I'm pretty sure it will be done by their commercial crimes unit, once the police have concluded their investigation, they will then hand a docket over to the National Prosecuting Authority, who will then take those charges to court and prosecute them. Simultaneously with that, there is an investigation that is being conducted by the Reserve Bank under the Registrar of Banks, which includes a forensic commission of inquiry, and they are looking into the operations of the bank, where the money went, how it was spent, and there may be further charges that arise from that.
What are the Democratic Alliance's interests in this particular case?
Well, my personal interest from a DA side is that my portfolio is cooperative governance and traditional affairs, and the primary source of this funding was the 1.5 billion rand that municipalities deposited illegally with VBS. So that money that those municipalities put there illegally, as I said, has now gone, and the municipalities are unable to deliver the services to their residents. That's why we have laid these charges, because it is a misuse of public funds. There's corruption on a grand scale, and even worse is that it appears that there have been kickbacks and the like to ANC leaders and ANC structures to facilitate this. So, for example, there are links to the provincial executive of the ANC in Limpopo. We know that VBS funded certain lavish gala dinners and made donations to the ANC. And, of course, they then loaned money to Jacob Zuma to fund his Nkandla homestead. So the links are there, and we have questions around that too.
Are there any disciplinary processes that the DA is actually proposing for the municipalities that deposited money with VBS?
Absolutely. As I said, the deposits were illegal in terms of the Municipal Finance Management Act, where it specifies that municipalities may only deposit their funds with a bank that is registered in terms of the Banks Act. Now, mutual banks are registered in terms of a separate piece of legislation, so they don't fall into that category. We have already laid criminal charges about a month ago against the municipal managers and the chief financial officers of the 15 affected municipalities, and we have also tabled motions in all of those affected municipalities calling on the councils to institute disciplinary action, to suspend the officials that are concerned, and then take the necessary disciplinary action. What is particularly worrying, though, is that the mayors in those municipalities are today reported as being defiant despite National Treasury, despite COGTA having warned them and told them that this was illegal, that they couldn't do this, that they must take their money out of VBS, the mayors are now defiant, and they're saying that they were entitled to do so and they did it as an investment.
Now, Kevin, the way forward, what happens if the police, or rather we should say that the investigative team in this case does not grant the DA's way?
Well, there are still other ways of taking this forward. We will be looking at calling these municipalities to SCOPA, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament. We will be looking at driving these issues at the provincial legislatures, and we will obviously be keeping our eye very closely on this issue, making sure that it doesn't go away and that those who are responsible for this looting, who are responsible for this misuse of public funds, are held accountable to the full extent of the law.